our new and improved podcast series, Retail Rendezvous, a podcast where technology and retail meet. I'm your host, Melanie Frank, Senior Marketing Advisor at Jesta I.S. Today, I'm super excited to introduce our guest speaker, Sheldon of IHL Consulting, who was just recognized as a top 100 retail influencer by RETHINK Retail. Congratulations, Jerry, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Melanie. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and it's absolutely really a pleasure to being able to have the opportunity to kind of chat around this concept of loyalty.
Yep. So before we jump on to our topic of discussion, can you give us a quick introduction of yourself and a bit of your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a technology analyst at IHL Group. I've been part of the team here at IHL for a bit over 18 years. Our area of expertise, for those that are not all that familiar with IHL, is we track transactional systems. We track very heavily in-store technologies, a lot of research around POS, a lot of research around IT spend, and pretty deep dive information into just in general, the types of technologies that retailers are using and how those trends and technologies impact the customer experience and vice versa.
Great. Thank you for that. Okay. So let's jump right in. Today's hot topic is digital consumers and how to cultivate loyalty that lasts. So digital has definitely disrupted the way people shop, but we all know it's clear that consumer behaviors and preferences have changed with more and more consumers shopping online. We've also seen, especially with the Gen X, Y, and Z, who are somewhat averse to shopping in stores. So trying to build that real connection with consumers and cultivating a real genuine loyalty that lasts is something I think that retailers are really struggling with. So my first question to you, Jerry, is what are the significant components of customer loyalty and what should retailers consider when looking at the big picture?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to, such a transitional time we've been in over the last couple of years, and to look at really how retail has changed, and it really has I've really been, I think, evolving my thoughts honestly around loyalty, because we used to really focus around this concept of loyalty and what happened in the store,
Mm-hmm.
but really we know that now there are fewer and fewer of our transactions that are store only. And when I say store only, I mean a consumer walks in your store, they find an item on the shelf, they walk out just with that item that was purchased on the shelf. COVID really accelerated that transition, and I think what it means is now we have these new customer journeys. We had some before, we've added some, and the ones that we had before, those of the proliferation of those, the percentage of those customer journeys that are just not limited to just store only has absolutely exploded. So now when I think about loyalty, I really begin to look at it more holistically, and it's really, loyalty is about every touch point, not
It's
just
true.
every touch point in the store.
Yeah, very true.
And so it's the interaction with e-commerce, it's the interaction with the order management system, it's the intersection where e-commerce and order management and in store, where those collide. So as a retailer, it's it's a mixture of technology, it's a mixture of employee training, and again, as we mesh those two together, getting the right technology, hiring the right employees, bringing those together to create really an extraordinary customer experience. And I think that really over the past couple of years, the expectation of what that store experience should be it has absolutely evolved very rapidly.
I agree, definitely. So what keeps digital consumers loyal?
Oh, I think there's really there's really a lot of things that keeps digital consumers loyal, and I think kind of you kind of run through the laundry list of key things, and on some of, I think really on most of these, I really draw kind of my opinions from even research that I've seen, or conversations that we've had with retailers, and then certainly as a consumer. Hey, we draw our own experience and we bring our own experience to the table. But I think first and foremost, with the evolution of e-commerce, I really still struggle with good search technologies on a
Mhm.
website. I see this across multiple retailers. We talk to vendors that sell technology into this space, and they just talk about retailer after retailer that approaches them and says, "Hey, my search is broken on my site. I really, really, really need to make some significant improvements." I mean, we want people buying, we want people engaged. We don't want people to get frustrated searching. And I think there's a lot of frustrated search out there. So good search technology first and foremost. And then next is promotional effectiveness. So, it's that marriage of, okay, the products that I have, understanding what's your purchase history, understanding, okay, what's your search history, and how do I marry all those different factors together so that hey, if you're looking for a blouse, or if I'm looking for a polo shirt or something like that, hey, how does that match and marry with what I've either been looking for on your website in general, or what I've purchased in the
Mhm.
past, and bringing those two together, and doing so, as that search history changes, as seasons change, hey, if I'm looking for something in the winter, that might be very different from what I need in the fall or the spring, or oh, you know just about what I was searching for. My behavior 8, 10, 12 months ago, but oh, things have changed now. And do your systems actually keep up with understanding kind of what the here and now is. So,
Right.
so certainly promotional effectiveness. Next, easy/free returns. I think it's interesting, even in research that we've done, while not universally. If you go look internationally, people generally understand that they may pay for shipping and they may have to pay for returns. But
Mhm.
here in North America, the bar has gotten very different, and people expect very easy returns. And generally speaking, people expect free returns. So, how easy do you make the return process? Next, shipping communication. We understand, and I think most consumers at this point have come to understand and appreciate some of the shipping challenges, some of the product delivery challenges that we have now, and the constrained supply chain. But how
Mhm.
well communicate if something that goes long? Can you text? Can you email? Do you have the depth and the breadth of your communication tools in app or not in app to let consumers know and to set their expectations? I mean, I think generally speaking, most consumers will understand
Mhm.
a reasonableness standpoint, a delay in shipping, but they will not accept that not being communicated to them. So how well do we communicate shipping and set shipping expectations? And what are shipping expectations for your brand? I think now sort of the de facto bar is that most consumers expect that the vast majority of items, they should be able to get those in a couple of days. And
Yeah.
is your brand able to live up to that promise and that expectation? Because I think that's really what the expectation is. And then finally, again, maybe something that we may not think about, may not consider, but fast page loads. I've seen
Mhm.
some fascinating statistics around the conversion rate, and just how happy and the impact that it has on loyalty when your page loads faster, where the in-app experience when that is rapid. So just concept around easy commerce, and how easy am I making commerce?
That's so true. And also the visibility within that too, as a consumer. And you talked about the shipping. I want the visibility. I want to be able to track it. I want to be able to see from the moment I purchased it, where along the line is it, and how fast am I going to get it into my hands. So
Oh,
definitely,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely that experience is has to be consistent online and seamless for sure. But then when those digital consumers go back into the store, and if they visit the store, I think that there has to be that same experience felt that they have online as well. So
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
That's sort of
Yeah,
what we're trying to do with unified commerce, right? Is that
exactly. Yeah.
that that consumers don't think channels, consumers don't understand silos.
Mhm.
Consumers are used to experiences, with many different touch points, shopping across many different channels, and they want the buy, fulfill, and potentially return process to be seamless, independent of which channel they decide to engage with you. So you as a brand, are
Yeah.
you able to bring that seamless experience to bear? And you as a technology provider, does your technology, are you able to bring to bear these tenements of a unified commerce vision
Hmm.
that it doesn't think in terms of channels, but it thinks in terms of product price, customer information, business intelligence, et cetera, that tear down those channels and make a real seamless experience.
Yeah. So true. So we all know that technology today really plays a huge role in the retail environment. We all know that. So how can retailers and brands really incorporate that right technology, and how can they leverage it to improve the overall customer experience?
Yeah, when I think about loyalty, to me, I think there's an aspect of loyalty that is certainly technology, but I think there's an art piece to it as well. There's a real time generated expertise that brings into play. So I think honestly, in answering this question, I think you kind of have to look at. I'd like to sort of address it from the tech piece and then the expertise piece. So I think from a tech experience piece, um, first and foremost, when you decide to engage with a vendor, when you're in the vendor evaluation stage, understanding what's the vendor's roadmap. What does
Mhm.
that roadmap look like? Because what we understood, I mean, I think we all knew this before COVID, but COVID, I think, reminded us how rapidly
Things
the
can
commerce
change.
environment can absolutely
Yeah.
change in an absolute instance, and that there's no guarantee that is going to that's going to revert back to some preconceived idea of norm uh,
Hmm.
in an instant. So you want a vendor that absolutely has a well thought out roadmap, and you want to invest in that, in understanding before you select any vendor. Okay, what is that long term roadmap? What does it look like? Next, evaluating and understanding a vendor that has flexible and deep feature function set.
Hmm.
And it's sort of, I think we almost would view that as table stakes. But when we look at vendors, we look at different strengths and weaknesses of vendors in different technology arenas. There really is still a fairly vast array and a differentiation in feature function capability. And
Right.
I think is a way to kind of capture it. So you're like, okay, how do I capture that? How do I understand that? And I think incorporating a vendor selection process that involves all stakeholders. Uh,
Hmm.
and these stakeholders are growing. Again, loyalty is no longer store. Loyalty is across the entire chain if we think about it from a unified commerce standpoint. So if we involve all the stakeholders, if we have a broader swath of stakeholders that are a part of this selection process where we're understanding, okay, what do you need now? What do you need 3 years from now? What do you need 5 years from now? So as we involve more stakeholders in the decision-making process, I think this will help this concept of future casting, sort of, not where is the puck now, but where is the puck growing? Because the
Right.
last thing we
Right.
want to do is we don't want to outgrow the solution. I think next, one of the great things that cloud-based solutions have brought us are more frequent updates. So, yeah, there are on-premise solutions out there, but one of the things that we see the greatest amount of investment, the greatest amount of innovation, and much more frequent updates and easier to digest updates in cloud-based solutions. So I think you really want to say, hey, that's honestly where the puck is going in technology. So looking very heavily toward cloud-based solutions. Next is this concept of AI, ML, artificial intelligence, call it machine learning. But really, when we talk to vendors, and we quickly get into, okay, talk to me about your solution, tell me about your solution, and tell me about your ROI. And over the years, we do see improvements in ROI, but one of the things that artificial intelligence, machine learning has brought to bear is really a step improvement in the return on investment. So when we talk about that roadmap, when we talk about,
Mhm.
hey, future casting, what aspect of a vendor's roadmap incorporates some aspect of embedded AI ML into the solution? And then finally, when we think about this concept of unified commerce, is the solution that you're looking at, is it channel specific or is it holistic in nature? Does the vendor, do they have a true view and a true understanding of unified commerce, or are they still very channel specific? And one of the things that I absolutely encourage folks to look at are look at those vendors that have kind of a broader solution suite, because the broader the solution suite that a vendor offers, more than likely it's not a certainty, but it's a strong generalization that, if you're offering more than just loyalty or just POS or more than just e-com or more than just order management, then those vendors that offer a broader suite of solutions tend to have a better understanding and a more comprehensive view of providing that unified commerce experience that every retailer is achieving. So that's the tech piece. So a
Yeah.
lot of moving pieces there with the tech piece, and now the expertise piece. So are you working with a vendor that has a history of excellence? Again, not to say that new entrants can't provide great solutions, but vendors that have a history of excellence, especially in a particular area of expertise, those are vendors that you definitely want to talk with, because those are vendors that you can lean in, learn from, and lean on, because there's the old saying that everybody has a plan until the plan gets disrupted. So it's great to have a vision. It's great to have a plan, but sometimes those plans don't always materialize the way we want. So,
Mhm.
hey, can you tap into a vendor's expertise that says, okay, hey, yeah, this is what we tried, not quite getting the results that we want. Recommendations on how do we pivot.
Mhm.
A vendor that's sort of new to this space, they're going to have a much harder time analyzing, understanding, and helping you pivot as a consumer of that solution. So, does the vendor have deep expertise that you can learn from? You know,
Yeah.
Additionally, well-defined success criteria and a willingness to change if something isn't working. Again, we know that things don't always work the way we intended. Sometimes we get environmental curveballs that occur. Again, COVID, a fantastic example of a
Exactly. Yeah.
curveball. And then finally, I think one of the last things I would, around just having that expertise, is just the importance around, as a stakeholder, having executive ownership and incentivized executive ownership, because
Mhm.
best way to have a technology that is successful is having an executive that owns that and that their compensation is tied to it. Conversely, the greatest way to have a failure in a technology implementation is if nobody's owning it. So,
Exactly.
I think that ownership piece, for all the stakeholders and be incentivized for
Yeah.
success can really, really help.
I totally agree. That's that accountability factor for sure. For sure.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned something super interesting when you talked about the tech piece. You mentioned the embedded AI and the ML. I think that in itself is a whole other discussion topic on its own. It's something definitely worth a deeper dive, but it's super interesting. We see a lot of retailers um, more and more asking for that piece and trying to learn more about that piece. And then when you went back in to discuss the expertise side of it, I think that vendors nowadays have to be very, very agile and within their planning and their stages and their solution set, for example, but also within their innovation and their plans and their roadmap. You said to pivot quickly is super important as well.
Yeah, the AI ML piece is a real challenge. I mean, one,
Yeah.
the expertise in the marketplace on that is quite limited. So I think a retailer really, they have to make the call. Hey, do we want to be an IT expert, or do we want to hire IT experts, or do we want to take a hybrid approach? And there are some retailers that are large enough and have the IT budgets and the R&D budgets where they really can have that level of expertise, but it is actually pretty limited. I mean, I think really the vast majority of retailers out there, they take the approach that, hey, we want to team with really, really, really good people, really smart people, people that do
Mhm.
it for a living, people that are 100% focused on creating a great solution, anticipating future needs, bringing
Yeah.
together best practices of the market, and doing so in a manner that delivers a solution that is secure and will make sure that hey, that we don't wind up as a headline due to a breach of data.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Good points. Good tips. So there's not one size fits all approach, definitely, to loyalty. And knowing what drives and disrupts a customer's loyalty is really key for a retailer. So can you give me an example of a loyalty program that retailers can learn from?
Yeah, two. I have really two. It was funny when we talked about this question. I'm like, okay, that's a really good question. Who does it right and who does it poorly? And
Right. Because
I have two that I really, really like that I think do it really well. So I was born and raised in Atlanta, which is the home of Delta Airlines.
okay.
And so, kind of growing up, Delta was sort of our de facto airline of choice. But now I live in the Orlando area. Everybody wants to come see Mickey Mouse. So all the airline, I could choose from all the airlines. Just about every airline in North America flies in and out of Orlando. So I can choose. But I really like Delta. And the reason I like Delta is that the app is very easy. There are no blacked out flights. When I go into the app, I know exactly how many points I have. They communicate. Um, I can go pick any flight that I want, and it has a dollar value and it has a point value. They make it so easy to use. There's no blackout. They let the
Mhm.
app work for me. They let my points, they let my loyalty work for me. And they do a really nice job of incorporating the feature functionality that I want in just an app with the loyalty piece. Very, very tightly integrated and very nicely integrated. So a really, really good balance there. And again, flights are expensive. Flights are something that I
Yeah.
value. So
Yeah.
that they've just made it easy for me to use. And I think kind of somewhat part and parcel also happens to be another retailer headquartered and originating from Atlanta is Chick-fil-A. I'm a big Chick-fil-A fan. Their app is absolutely fantastic. Every product on their app has a very easy to use point value. It's very easy I scan my barcode. When I go make a purchase, I can use my points. I can use my saved credit card information. It all quickly summarizes to my loyalty account. I can share my points. Hey, my wife is at the mall, and I can go
Wow.
easily send my loyalty points to my wife or anybody that I want to use them. So the loyalty points are not just siloed to Jerry. They're they're Jerry and anybody else
And
that wants
anybody else. Wow,
them.
that's
That is
great.
very, very unique. And
Yeah.
they also do very good cadence on offers and promotions. I don't even remember telling them the cadence that I wanted offers and promotions. There's probably a place to go in there and set it, but they do a really nice job with keeping me engaged in promotions, keeping me engaged in new products, but not so often that it becomes white noise
Right.
and I want to delete the app. So,
Okay. So not that
so
it becomes
they
an
do it really
annoyance, right?
good.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said not that it becomes some sort of an annoyance, right? That you're getting the same offers over and over again.
Right. I see value. So there's value
Okay.
in me being loyal to the brand.
Yeah.
It's not this glory. I mean, so often loyalty programs can easily degenerate into glorified discount programs. Just hey,
Exactly.
I'm going to
Yeah.
shop this deal here, this deal here, this deal here. Well, glorified deal hunting is not loyalty. Loyalty is, oh man, they're giving me something incremental in value. They're making it very easy and I want to continue engaging with that because they treat me with respect. They treat my personal information with respect, and they value me as a customer. And I think for me in those two particular products, those two loyalty programs, I feel like I get great value from them. Though there's others on the other end of the spectrum. So just as easily as I was thinking of, Delta, Chick-fil-A, great value, love their loyalty programs. There's a lot of bad ones out there too, and they
I was
do
going to
get
say,
the
you don't
job.
have to mention who they are,
Oh,
but
I
yeah.
certainly wouldn't mention who they are, but like I have, there's some that, this one particular loyalty program, and now there's no rewards. So I'm particularly loyal to one sports franchise and a member of their loyalty program. But if you go into their app right now, they have no rewards that they're offering because they're revamping their loyalty program, and they've been
Okay.
revamping their loyalty program for 6 months. That's not going to create loyalty. I have, a particular cell phone provider. They cap your loyalty points, and they have limited products that you can use your loyalty points on. And oh, by the way, the particular products that you can use the loyalty points on just so happen to drive incremental revenue and value for the brand itself, not necessarily for the consumer. So they've taken their loyalty program and they're getting more benefit out of it
Benefit
than I
than
am.
the actual consumer. Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
horrendous application of loyalty.
Wow, those are great examples. So, with all of that said, how do you see loyalty evolving in the future?
Oh my goodness, I think it's about to get more complex. I mean, if we look at the number of journeys, and we kind of broached this subject, and we talked a little bit about customer journeys, and we actually tracked this, during and post COVID. I guess you could sort of call we're either post COVID or pseudo post COVID right now,
Right.
depending on
Yeah.
your where you're at geographically. But we had tracked, hey, what are this evolution of customer journeys look like? And we've done so not only in North America, but we've actually done it worldwide. And you're welcome to hit our website. There's a lot of free research there where you can see some of these numbers and some of these free reports that kind of talk about this. But kind of bottom line, in every region of the world, more and more people are invoking these more complex customer journeys. So I think loyalty is first and foremost going to become more complex. There's going to be more and more customer touch points and points of interaction, more opportunities for a consumer to integrate and to interact with you
Hmm.
um, in person, digitally, online, through chat, um, et cetera. So it's going to get, first and foremost, it's going to get more complex because the number of journeys that involve the store and the store only, that's decreasing, not increasing. And then I think, kind of in that same vein, I think there's going to be, so not only touch points are going to be evolving, but I think also the factors that drive loyalty are going to be, I think evolving. I think about ESG,
Hmm.
environmental, social, corporate governance.
Yeah.
And I think, carbon footprint. Okay, now people are much more concerned about carbon footprint. So, hey, if I go on your website and I want to get these three items, maybe now I could, if I want it, I want to go pick up one. I want, because I have to have it today. One's going to get mailed from a distribution center, and one's going to get, mailed from a store at another province or another state. I mean, what's my carbon footprint associated with that? Is it better for Jerry to wait a day or two,
Hmm.
have those all, sent from a single location and a much lower carbon footprint? So I think we're starting to see some information and systems and particular vendors that are now starting to incorporate this concept of the environmental impact
Yeah.
into the whole shopping experience. So things like ESG, I think we're talking a little bit of it now, and it's kind of hard to really talk ESG when inflation is through the roof. And people are more concerned about putting food on the table than the environment, though the
Right.
environment is
Yeah.
certainly important. But I think ESG is absolutely going to grow in the future. And then it's funny, this may seem like a real sidebar, but I've been really thinking a lot about electric vehicles. And
Hmm.
what is how are electric vehicles going to impact shopping? And I think we would initially think the two have nothing in common, but hold on with me for a second. So when I go fill up my gasoline car, 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
from from empty to full in 5 minutes. But even a supercharger on an electric vehicle, that can be up to 30 minutes for a full charge. So now think about road trips. Right now, just from friends that own electric vehicles, if you're commuting around town, electric vehicles are awesome. You have an electric vehicle, if you go on a road trip, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah, they're not
So
quite there yet. Yeah.
they're not quite there yet, and they'll eventually get there and they'll eventually improve. But imagine the concept of a gas station, and when you have vehicle turn in 5 minutes for gasoline versus you have, how many cars would accumulate if you need 20, 25, 30, 35 plus minutes for a
Mhm.
complete car? So how does that change a convenience store? Now I'm on a road trip and I see this outlet mall. Oh boy, I see this store, I see store A, I see store B. Store A has a supercharger that I can use my loyalty points on. So I could go in, I got 30 minutes to kill, my car's going to charge up, won't cost me anything. So do I choose store A with a supercharger or store B with no supercharger? Well, if I get discounted charging, choose store A, do I choose store B? So think about an individual store that supports electric charging. Think about now shopping malls that make big investments in electric charging. So now start to think about, okay, what you're not giving them an individual product. You're not giving them discounted product. You're not giving them 2-for-1s or BOGOs or any of that. Now you're giving them, it kind of feeds a little bit into that ESG sort of perspective. And hey, I'm helping reduce the carbon footprint initially because I'm supporting people that have taken an electric route, and I'm incentivizing that kind of behavior. And I'm going to, quote unquote, where the puck is going, because we all know that we can see that even though electric vehicles, a very small percentage now, that number is going to be absolutely
That's
growing.
growing. Yeah,
That's kind of
it
where the
is
puck is
growing.
growing. So it's okay. There are these sort of unforeseen opportunities where things that may not be something that drives loyalty now, can very clearly be a component of loyalty in the future, where something grows in value.
I never thought of that. That's a really great association between the electric cars and actually loyalty for a retailer. That's, something to think about. It's a really great point,
It's
Jerry.
a little out there, but I think
No, it really is. No, super great. Very interesting. Well, I think that wraps up our podcast for today. Thank you, Jerry. This is a really great, insightful conversation. We really appreciate you sharing your expertise and talking to us all about loyalty. And we look forward to having you join us again on future podcasts.
My pleasure. Really enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for having me, Melanie. And we definitely look forward to chatting further.
Thanks. You've been listening to Retail Rendezvous, a podcast where technology and retail meet. If you would like to be a guest on Retail Rendezvous, please reach out to marketing@justis.com. Be sure to check out any past episodes you may have missed. Thank you for tuning in.